It's Wednesday, and it's Halloween. Recently, Ubisoft Toronto released their long-awaited game, Starlink, The Battle for Atlas. And concurrently, they released the official soundtrack on iTunes and Spotify, linked somewhere up there or possibly somewhere down there. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to share with you a little bit of the process of recording the soundtrack, as it was a little bit unique. Now, I've never scored a large game before, and it was quite flattering for Ubisoft to give me a call and ask me to demo for this project. Now, their approach was they wanted to try and use a film and TV guy rather than a dedicated film composer, and I was currently at the time on Orphan Black Season 4, I think. So they invited me down to Ubisoft, talked about the game, and shared with me a little bit about the process in writing the music for one. And my pitch to them was this. How about we create a hybrid orchestral score, but instead of using traditional orchestral instruments, let's use 110 brass players. And they said, yeah. So now it was on to, where am I going to find 110 brass players? I had marched in drum corps in my teens and then later went on for about 13 years to teach various drum corps. Before I went on into advertising and then later my film and television career. So I still had lots of friends and contacts in the activity. So I called a good friend of mine, Doug Thrower, who's the brass arranger and one of the show designers for the 2016 DCI World Champions, the Bluecoats. So I asked him, would this even be possible with such a demanding and busy schedule that they have? And Doug put me in touch with the corps director, David Glasgow. So I reached out to the director and made an arrangement to hire the drum corps for a one full day recording session with the membership of the 2017 Bluecoats. And we did this at their spring training camp facility, Denison University in Ohio. Now, the facilities here were absolutely fantastic. They had a beautiful old church there that had been semi-acoustically treated and had lots of room to go section by section with the horn line. See, one of the problems that we had was there's 110 members in this horn line, and to get them all to stand side by side would be about the length of a football field. So recording them all at the same time was a logistical nightmare. So we had to break them down into sections, being the trumpets, the mellophones, the baritones/trombones, and the tubas. Now, I didn't want to use the brass in just a traditional straight-up approach to scoring, since this game was going to be located deep in space sometime in the distant future. So I orchestrated them not only as melodic voices, but we recorded a bunch of fragments and FX sequences that I could sample, morph into weird synth-like sounds. I also had the opportunity to capture some samples from the drum line, which I chopped up into little sounds and used them as interesting and mangled percussion sequences. So the challenge for this whole project was the recording dates. And since the drum corps was only going to be available to me before I had actually scored any of the game. So I pre-scored about 6 or 7 melodic motifs that I could drop in later once I got the cinematics and the gameplay from Ubisoft. So with the help of Doug Thrower, we created this so-called Bible. And this had all the melodic elements in it and all of the FX and chord sequences all pre-orchestrated and ready to go. We sent all this down to Ohio beforehand for the players to have prepared for us when we arrived, since we were going to be on such a tight schedule. After the recording, the audio was chopped up and organized and brought back into the studio. And as I went along, I used the melodic motifs and created a sample library from the large amount of short effects recordings. I stretched the samples, I used vocoders, and granular synthesis and a bunch of other techniques to help create a palette that was both synthetic and organic all at the same time. This was a really fun and exciting process. The Ubisoft team, and Carlos and OIJ in particular, made this a fantastic and very enjoyable process. And I have to take this time to thank the wonderful staff, the management, and the members of the 2017 Bluecoats for making this soundtrack a huge success. Without your fingerprint on this wouldn't have nearly as unique and a distinctive voice. And it's been a wonderful opportunity for me to give back to an activity that gave me so much in my career. So if you're interested, it's available for download on iTunes and Spotify, linked somewhere up here or possibly down there. And I'm going to leave you with one of the big melodic motifs that we recorded, which was kind of the precursor and the prelude to the whole game kicking off. So hit that like button if you like this episode, and smash that subscribe button if you want to hear some more. And I hope to see you sometime next week.